Well, Scott, can I also ask you, I mean, where does the Republican Party in Texas go from here? Because John Cornyn, I mean, in his interview that he did with Monty Raju earlier today, made pretty clear that he's not going to be coming out and endorsing Ken Paxton in this race. I mean,
well, he said he's going to support the ticket.
There is a question, well, voting for the ticket and endorsing it's another thing, but there is a question of how much money MAGA is going to have to spend in this race, is there not?
Yeah.
Please like, subscribe, and share. This is no longer just about a single Senate race. It's about whether Republicans are focused on pleasing Trump in the primaries or actually winning general elections. Tensions are rising as Trump's influence, Ken Paxton's controversies, and fears of Texas, turning competitive, all come together. And the concern within parts of the GOP is getting harder to ignore. So, let's get into it.
This was unthinkable even just maybe 2 weeks ago for some Republicans.
Yeah, Paxton was running a little bit ahead here, but a little bit ahead. And then when Donald Trump showed up, it changed everything. Now, if you go back to the primary results, Cornyn actually narrowly won more votes in the primary, but there was a third person in the race, a guy named Wesley Hunt. And obviously, those Wesley Hunt voters didn't want to vote for Cornyn, and most of those obviously have gone to Paxton. But look, the bottom line is this. If Donald Trump wants you to be the nominee of the Republican Party for virtually any office, he can will it into existence. And that has happened again tonight in Texas. There's also an attorney general campaign going on underneath this. I don't think we've called it yet, but there's a strong undercurrent of who's for Trump and who isn't in that race. And it looks like the more Trump-aligned candidate is going to win down there as well. So, we're learning this lesson over and over again. Indiana, Louisiana, Kentucky, where I live, and now Texas, over and over again, we're learning. If Donald Trump wants you to have the party's nomination, the voters look at that and say, we trust the president's judgment and we'll give it to you.
But Paul, I mean, I should note when we're hearing this tonight about the concerns of what this general election matchup is going to look like, it's not coming from Democrats or just critics of the president. It's coming from Republicans in his own party who are up on Capitol Hill that are worried about it.
Right, because they can count. Trump makes you unbeatable in the primary, but it could make you unelectable in the general. We're talking about Texas Senate seat up. King referred to this, and he's generally wrong about everything. He's a horrible person. But he's right about this. My party, Democrats, haven't won anything in Texas in 32 years. They haven't won a Senate seat in 38 years. They haven't won a governorship in 36 years. They haven't carried a presidential candidate in Texas for 50 years. And we're sitting here saying that Texas is up for grabs, in part because the Democrats nominated a very strong candidate, James Tallarico, who in the polling right now is 11 points above water. His popularity is very high. Mr. Trump, beloved by Republicans in Texas, the bloom is off the rose on that. He's underwater, even in my beloved Texas. Underwater, more unpopular than he is popular in the polling. So this is the problem that Republicans are going to have now in a state that all they had to do was fog a mirror and they won Texas. And now they're going to have to fight like hell and spend hundreds of millions of dollars.
Well, I mean, Ken Paxton is someone who has been MAGA aligned. He is someone who, way before Trump, was suing the Obama administration many times. He actually, I mean, yes, he's been indicted and then had the charges dropped. He was impeached and acquitted. He's never lost an election that he's run, I don't believe, during his political career.
Please like, subscribe, and share. Scott Jennings is right about one thing. Trump's endorsement power in the Republican Party is incredibly strong right now. When Trump fully backs a candidate, especially in a crowded primary, it can completely change the race overnight. We've seen it happen across the country. But the real question is whether that same strategy works beyond the MAGA base. And that's where some Republicans are starting to worry, especially in Texas. For years, Texas was considered automatic GOP territory. Democrats could run solid candidates and still lose comfortably. But demographic changes, shifting suburbs, and younger voters moving into major cities have slowly narrowed the gap. And candidates like Ken Paxton tend to energize Democratic voters while also pushing away moderate suburban voters. This goes beyond ideology. Paxton has faced years of legal investigations, impeachment fights, ethics scandals, and corruption allegations. While he's survived politically, general election voters often care more about stability and competence than primary voters do. That's why concerns about Republicans having to spend massive amounts of money in Texas matter. If the GOP is forced to defend states that were once considered safe, it drains resources from other key battlegrounds. The bigger trend is already clear. Under Trump, Republicans gained strength.
But he's also not an establishment type of candidate. What's interesting here is that John Cornyn knows how to fundraise. He knows how to do the things that an establishment Texan would do. Ken Paxton was not able to raise in this race, and he does not have a lot of money right now. I have to admit that tonight, while Tallarico is not on the ballot, my guess is Tallarico will likely raise more money tonight than Ken Paxton will in a red state. And it is interesting because the Republican resources will need to come in heavily in a state like Texas, and those are resources that they're not going to be spending anywhere else. Tallarico is well funded. Tallarico will continue to raise money, but it's interesting to me that now Republicans have to worry about deep red Texas because they have a flawed candidate who does not know how to raise. And you're now seeing that currently play out.
All these analysis of this race is sort of the differences between what a Cornyn or a Paxton would look like here. I'm thinking about the differences between Tallarico and literally every other Texan. Don't know any Texans who believe in 6 genders other than Tallarico. Don't know any Texans who said it's immoral to eat meat other than Tallarico. Don't know any Texans who walk around saying things, God is non-binary. You all are both Texans. Do you know any other Texan who even talks like that? Issues aside, who says these things out loud? When this gets adjudicated, all that money coming in from California and New York, it'll be well spent in Texas.
You know what I'm smelling, Scott? Fear. Panic.
Fear?
Raw, stinking panic. You guys
Fear
are
of a
on this.
cisgender
You
guy?
are on this. He's more popular than Trump in Texas,
Can
brother.
you explain his position?
He cited a biological study. It's not his position. He cited a study.
So you're for it.
So
you believe in
You know what
cisgenders.
I'm not for? I'm not for $6.89 hamburger. Okay, James actually eats beef. Okay, but he can afford to. Most
But it's
Texans
immoral.
can't anymore. Now Ken Paxton can because on a government salary, he's become a millionaire. How does that happen? He can afford hamburger. This is what it's going to be about. You want it to be about woke. I want it to be about broke.
No, I want it to
Let's
be
see.
about
Let's see
judgment.
what.
I want it to be
let's
about,
sway.
are you a normal
You just
person?
smell the fear.
Are you a normal
So
person?
It's just
6
panic.
genders and no meat.
What I
Texas
will say
terror.
is
It's terror. They're so afraid.
Scott is melting down, but that is like the Republican Party right now.
You guys endorsing the genders is amazing.
I'm not endorsing that, and neither
Oh.
is Tallarico, to be honest.
Whoa,
with you.
whoa, whoa, whoa,
Let her
whoa,
make her
Hold on,
point, Scott.
I'm not-
Let her make her point,
let
Scott.
me- Let me make my point. He is an 8th generation white Texas male who loves meat and talks about the cost of living in the state, is appealing to a moderate electorate, including Republicans who don't want to vote for Paxton, and Republicans are running completely scared right now. And I
So,
think that is
just
what
for the
concern.
record,
What I will say,
neither of
hold
you
on,
can define
but
the
I want-
gender
what-
thing.
When we're talking about morality and values and stuff like that, you have Paxton here who was married for almost 40 years, and his wife, who knows him the best, ended their marriage on biblical grounds. What does that mean? I'm a Catholic. I will say that either means you cheated on your spouse with a man or a woman, or you went ahead and abused your spouse. I will say that is, when you're talking about judgment, a woman who has known that man for 40 years, that is judgment.
Well, Scott, can I also ask you, where does the Republican Party in Texas go from here? Because John Cornyn, in his interview that he did with Monty Raju earlier today, made pretty clear that he's not going to be coming out and endorsing Ken Paxton in this race.
Well, he said he's going to support the ticket.
There is a question, voting for the ticket and endorsing it's another thing, but there is a question of how much money MAGA is going to have to spend in this race, is there not?
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's going to be an expensive race. I think money will be spent by both sides. And Tallarico, being popular among donors in California and New York and Massachusetts, is never going to wash off the weirdness of the gender thing, of the meat thing, of the God is non-binary, of the Bible actually, endorses abortion. All of these things, wherever you are on the issues, who talks like that? No Texan that you know actually speaks these things out loud, other than Paul. I guess tonight he's latching on, but no other Texan speaks this way. Paxton, he'll speak like a normal person. He'll have positions that
But
are
if he's
center,
talking about
center right.
affordability, to
He'll
Paul's
talk-
point,
he'll have center
if he's
right
talking about
positions.
affordability, to Paul's point, is that something that could be
And
more
Paxton-
effective
and
with
Paxton
voters
will talk
that are
about
worried
affordability
about that?
when he talks about cutting taxes, rolling back regulations, and creating jobs,
How did
making
Ken-
energy prices
how
low.
did
That's
Ken
what he'll
Paxton
talk
become
about.
A millionaire. He makes $153,000 a year as Attorney General. When he became a state official, his net worth, according to his own disclosures, was $175,000. Okay, now he's a multimillionaire. Wall Street Journal says he has 11 homes. That's more than genders. He's got 11 damn homes. How did he get so rich?
You know, to Paul's point,
Crooked Ken is what Senator Cornyn calls him.
to the question of the Republican Party in Texas tonight, the NRSC, the Senate committee, just put out a statement tonight that does not name Paxton or John Cornyn in this. It was before the race had been projected, but it just says a state that the president won by nearly 14 points is not going to elect James Tallarico, talking about his positions. But, I mean, they didn't mention either of the Republican candidates in this race.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right. The establishment Republican Party, NRSC, has not backed Paxton. And it'll be interesting to see whether they are comfortable running ads, what they're doing. They were going around town, and you know this well, Scott, telling people that if Paxton won this race, that they were going to have to spend $100 million that they don't have on this race. And that seems like a problem.
Please like, subscribe, and share. Suburban areas around Dallas, Houston, Austin, and San Antonio have been slowly shifting as younger voters, independents, and college-educated voters move away from hardline MAGA candidates. Republicans still control Texas statewide, but the margins are getting tighter, and that's why GOP strategists are becoming nervous about races they once considered safe. The concern over Ken Paxton goes beyond ideology. He spent years facing FBI investigations. That's why it matters that establishment Republicans and corruption groups like the NRSC, including claims from former aides, rally behind him. Even some conservatives races privately see him as a risky candidate. And if Republicans have to spend huge amounts of money defending Texas, it takes attention away from key battlegrounds like Arizona, Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Paul's point about affordability is also important. Republicans often focus on culture war issues to energize their base, but swing voters usually care more about inflation, healthcare, housing costs, and wages. With many Americans still struggling financially, that could become a major weakness for the GOP. With rural voters, but lost support among college-educated suburban voters, especially women in areas around Dallas, Houston, Austin, and even Atlanta. Those shifts are turning once safe states into real contests. And Democrats see an opportunity, which is why they're increasingly eager to face the most MAGA-aligned candidates possible in competitive races. And ironically, the constant culture war rhetoric may actually help Democrats. Many voters are growing tired of nonstop outrage politics and see it as proof Republicans are more focused on conflict than solving everyday economic problems.